You wake up at 6 in the morning, and before your eyes are fully open, you've already made your first decision of the day. You hit snooze. It's a small thing, right? Just 9 more minutes. But here's what you don't realize in that moment. You've just told yourself that whatever you planned yesterday, whatever promise you made to yourself about who you were going to become, it's not as important as 9 more minutes of sleep. And that's not where it ends. That's where it begins. Because you see, your life right now, everything about it, the relationships you have, the bank account you check with anxiety, the mirror you avoid in the morning, the dreams you've stopped talking about because even you don't believe in them anymore, all of it is the result of thousands of these tiny decisions, not the big dramatic moments you're waiting for, not the perfect opportunity that never comes, but the 9 more minutes, the I'll start tomorrow, the just this once. These are the real architects of your existence, and most people will go their entire lives without ever realizing this truth. Let me tell you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. You already know what you need to do. You've known for months, maybe years. You need to have that difficult conversation. You need to stop eating the things that make you feel terrible. You need to start doing the work that scares you. You need to let go of the people who drain you. You need to bet on yourself. You already know. So why haven't you done it? This is the question that keeps you up at night, isn't it? You tell yourself stories to explain it away. You're waiting for the right time. You're not ready yet. You don't have enough money, enough knowledge, enough support. But these aren't reasons. They're shields. They're protecting you from the real answer, the one you don't want to face. You haven't done it because doing it would mean admitting something terrifying, that you're responsible, that you can't blame your circumstances anymore, that if you try and fail, you have no one else to point to. So you stay comfortable in your excuses, even though that comfort is slowly suffocating you. Here's something most motivational speakers won't tell you because it doesn't sell well. Discipline isn't going to save you, not the way you think it will. Everyone talks about discipline. It's this superpower you can just develop. If you wake up early enough and make your bed tight enough, suddenly everything clicks into place. But that's not how human beings work. Discipline is downstream from something else, something deeper that no one wants to talk about because it requires you to look at parts of yourself you've been hiding from. Your nervous system is running the show, and you don't even know it. When you try to sit down and do the thing you said you'd do, and suddenly you feel this overwhelming urge to check your phone, to get a snack, to reorganize your desk, anything but the actual work, that's not laziness. That's not lack of willpower. That's your nervous system detecting a threat. And to your nervous system, which evolved to keep you alive on the savannah, not to help you build a business or write a book, uncertainty feels like death. Discomfort feels like danger. So it does what it's designed to do. It moves you away from the threat and back to safety, back to scrolling, back to the familiar pattern, back to the life you say you want to change, but that your body recognizes as safe. This is why you can watch a motivational video and feel incredible, ready to conquer the world. And then 2 hours later, you're back on the couch doing exactly what you were doing before. The information isn't the problem. You don't need more information. You need to understand why your system keeps pulling you back. And here's the part that's going to hurt. For most people, their current life is exactly as uncomfortable as they can tolerate, not as good as they want, as uncomfortable as they can handle. Your system has calibrated to this level of mild dissatisfaction. It's familiar, it's known. And known suffering, no matter how painful, feels safer than unknown possibility. Think about that for a second. You would rather stay in a situation that makes you unhappy every single day than risk the uncertainty of trying to change it. Not because you're weak, not because you're broken, but because your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It's keeping you alive. The problem is it can't tell the difference between actual danger and the discomfort of growth. To your nervous system, they feel the same. So what do you do with this information? Because understanding why you're stuck doesn't automatically unstick you. This is where most people make a critical mistake. They think awareness equals change. I know why I do this now, so I'll stop doing it. But knowing why you sabotage yourself and actually stopping the sabotage are two completely different things. One is intellectual. The other requires you to rewire patterns that have been running automatically for years, maybe decades. Here's what actually works, and it's going to sound almost too simple. You have to make the change smaller than your resistance. Most people approach change like they're going to war. They wake up on Monday and declare total transformation. New diet, new workout routine, new schedule, new everything. And it feels good for about 18 hours. Then the system freaks out. Too much uncertainty, too much discomfort, threat level maximum. And it pulls you back with such force that you end up worse than where you started, because now you've added failure and shame to the mix. What if instead you just did one thing? Not the whole transformation, just one behavior. So small your nervous system doesn't even register it as a threat. You want to start working out? Don't commit to an hour at the gym. Put on your workout clothes, that's it. Just put them on. You want to write a book? Don't commit to 1,000 words a day. Open the document, stare at it for 2 minutes, then close it. You want to start a business? Don't build the whole thing. Spend 5 minutes researching one aspect of it. This sounds ridiculous, right? Like it won't make any difference. And that's exactly why it works. Because you'll actually do it. And when you do it, something shifts. Not in your circumstances, in your identity. You become someone who puts on workout clothes, someone who opens the document, someone who researches their idea. And identity is everything. Your actions flow from who you believe you are. Change the identity, even by a microscopic degree, and the actions start to follow. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people won't do this, even though it's easier than what they're currently trying, even though it actually works. They won't do it because it doesn't feel significant enough. It doesn't match the size of their dissatisfaction. They're so unhappy with where they are that the solution needs to feel equally massive. Starting small feels like giving up, like accepting that they're not capable of the big dramatic change. So they keep waiting for the moment when they'll feel ready to go all in. And that moment never comes, because your system will never volunteer for that level of disruption. Let me tell you about John. Not his real name, but his story is real. John spent 15 years saying he wanted to start his own business. 15 years. He had the idea, he had the skills, he even had some money saved, but he never started. Every January, he'd make it his resolution. Every January, he'd buy a new planner, create a detailed business plan, get excited about all the possibilities. And every February, he'd be back at his job, telling himself next year would be different. His friends stopped asking about it. His wife stopped believing him. Eventually, he stopped believing himself. What was stopping John? He thought it was money. Then he saved money and it was timing. Then the timing seemed right and it was his skill set. Then he took courses and it was the market conditions. There was always something, always a logical reason why now wasn't the moment. But the truth he couldn't admit even to himself, was that starting the business would mean he could fail at the one thing he'd been saying defined him for 15 years. As long as he didn't start, he could still be the guy with the great business idea. The moment he started, he'd just be another person trying something that might not work. And that terrified him more than spending another 15 years at a job he hated. So what changed? He didn't suddenly find courage. He didn't have a dramatic wake-up call. What happened was, his daughter asked him a question. She was 7 years old. She said, "Daddy, why do you always talk about your business but you never do it?" And in that moment he saw himself through her eyes, and he realized he was teaching her that dreams are things you talk about, not things you do. That scared him more than failure ever could. The next day, John didn't quit his job and launch a company. He spent 30 minutes after work on one task. Just one. He registered a domain name, that's all. The next day, another 30 minutes. He wrote down 3 potential customer problems his business could solve. The day after that, he reached out to one person who might have insights. 30 minutes a day. Tasks so small they barely felt like progress. But 60 days later, he had a basic website. 90 days later, his first client meeting. 6 months later, his first sale. A year later, he quit his job. 2 years later, his business was generating more than his salary ever did. What made the difference? He stopped trying to become a different person and started acting like the person he wanted to become. In increments so small, his fear couldn't mobilize against them. He didn't wait to feel ready. He didn't wait for perfect conditions. He just made the barrier to action lower than the barrier to inaction. And that's the secret no one tells you. You don't need to feel motivated. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel confident. You just need to make it easier to do the thing than to not do it. Now, you might be thinking, this is just about tactics, just another productivity hack. But it goes deeper than that. Because what we're really talking about is how you relate to your own resistance. Most people treat resistance like an enemy to be defeated. They try to power through it, override it, ignore it. And sometimes that works for a little while. But eventually resistance wins, because resistance isn't your enemy. It's your protector. It's trying to keep you safe. And you can't win a war against the part of yourself that's trying to protect you. What you can do is negotiate with it. You can say, I hear you. I know this feels scary. I know you're trying to keep me safe. And I appreciate that, but we're not in danger. This discomfort is growth, not threat. And I'm going to prove it to you, not with big dramatic gestures, but with small, safe experiments. And we're going to do this together. That might sound strange, talking to yourself like that, but your internal world is made up of different parts, different patterns, different protective mechanisms, and they're all trying to help you, even when they're getting in your way. Treating them like enemies just creates more internal conflict, but treating them like scared teammates who need reassurance, that changes everything. Imagine your life is a boat, and you're trying to sail toward an island you've never been to. The island represents the life you want. The boat represents your current habits and patterns. Now, most people try to get to the island by pushing their boat harder, more effort, more discipline, more force, but they don't realize their boat has an anchor down, and that anchor is attached to their identity, to their beliefs about who they are and what they're capable of. No matter how hard they push, the anchor keeps them in place. They're exhausted from all the effort, but not actually moving. The answer isn't to push harder. The answer is to pull up the anchor. And that means examining the beliefs you have about yourself that you've never questioned. The stories you tell yourself about who you are. I'm not a morning person. I'm not good with money. I'm not the type who finishes things. I'm not smart enough for that. I'm not attractive enough for that. I'm not worthy of that. These aren't truths. They're sentences you've repeated so many times they've calcified into identity. And identity is the strongest force in human psychology. You will always behave in a way that's consistent with who you believe you are, even if that behavior is destroying you. So who do you believe you are? Not who do you want to be? Not who you pretend to be on social media. Who do you actually believe you are in the quiet moments when no one's watching? Because that belief is running your life. Every decision you make, every opportunity you take or avoid, every relationship you pursue or sabotage, it all flows from that core belief. And for most people, that belief was formed when they were young, by people who didn't know any better, in circumstances they couldn't control, and they've never updated it. You're living your life based on conclusions you drew about yourself when you were 8 years old. Think about that. Would you take business advice from an 8-year-old? Would you let an 8-year-old design your life? Of course not. But that's exactly what you're doing. You decided at some point, based on limited information and immature processing, that you were a certain type of person, and you've been proving yourself right ever since. Here's the good news. Identity isn't fixed. It's just a story you keep telling, and you can tell a different story. Not by lying to yourself, not by fake affirmations in the mirror, but by collecting evidence of a new identity. Remember John? He didn't become a business owner by declaring, "I am a business owner." He became a business owner by doing business owner things, tiny things, until the evidence was undeniable. His identity shifted because his behavior shifted, and his behavior shifted because he made it small enough to bypass his resistance. This is how real change happens, not through inspiration, not through motivation, not through willpower, through evidence. You want to become someone who takes care of their health? Start collecting evidence. One vegetable, one walk around the block, one glass of water instead of soda. Each piece of evidence is a vote for the new identity. And at some point, you have enough votes that the identity shifts. You stop being someone who's trying to be healthy and become someone who is healthy. The behavior stops being something you force yourself to do and starts being an expression of who you are. But let's talk about what happens when you actually start making progress. Because this is where another trap lives, one that catches people right when they think they're finally breaking free. You start doing the thing, you start showing up, you start collecting evidence, and it feels good for a while. Then something shifts. The novelty wears off, the initial excitement fades, and you're left with the reality of the work, and the work is boring. Nobody tells you this part. They show you the highlight reel, the transformation photos, the success stories, the moment they quit their job or hit their goal or proved everyone wrong. But they don't show you the middle, the long, tedious, unremarkable middle where nothing seems to be happening, where you're showing up every day and it feels like you're getting nowhere, where you're putting in the work and the results aren't matching the effort. This is where most people quit, right before the breakthrough, right before all that accumulated effort starts to compound. Because change doesn't happen linearly, it happens in jumps. You put in work, nothing, then suddenly jump, progress, then more work, nothing, jump. But most people quit during the nothing phase. They interpret the lack of visible progress as evidence that it's not working. So they stop. They move on to the next thing, the next diet, the next business idea, the next relationship, the next quick fix. And they never stay in one place long enough to experience the jump. This is the difference between people who succeed and people who don't. Not talent, not luck, not connections, patience. The ability to keep showing up when it looks like nothing is happening. The ability to trust the process when you can't see the results yet. The ability to stay boring long enough for boring to become extraordinary. Think about a bamboo tree. When you plant bamboo, you water it and care for it every single day. And for 5 years, nothing happens. No growth above the ground, just your daily effort disappearing into the dirt with nothing to show for it. 5 years, can you imagine? 5 years of work with no visible result. Most people would give up after 5 weeks. But if you keep going, if you keep watering, if you keep caring for it, in the 5th year, the bamboo shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. 90 feet in 6 weeks. After 5 years of invisible growth underground, building root systems strong enough to support that dramatic rise. Your life works the same way. You're building root systems. You're doing work that doesn't show yet. And if you quit because you can't see it, you'll never get to experience the growth. You'll never know how close you were. Let me tell you what happens to most people in that invisible phase. They start comparing. They look around at everyone else who seems to be ahead of them, who seems to have it figured out, who seems to be getting results faster, and they feel like they're failing. They feel like maybe they're doing it wrong. Maybe they're not cut out for this. Maybe they should try what that other person is doing. So they switch. They abandon their bamboo tree right before it's about to shoot up, and they go plant a different seed. And the cycle starts again. Comparison is the thief of joy, but it's also the thief of progress. Because when you're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, you're not seeing the 5 years they spent watering their bamboo. You're only seeing the 90 feet of growth. You're only seeing the result, not the process. And so you convince yourself that they have something you don't. They're luckier, more talented, more connected, more something. And maybe that's true. Maybe they did have advantages you don't have. But you know what else is true? They stayed. They didn't quit during the nothing phase. And that's an advantage you can choose to give yourself right now. Here's a question that will change your life if you actually sit with it. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Think about that for a moment. Really think about it. If failure wasn't an option, if you knew with absolute certainty that you would succeed eventually, what would you do? What would you start? What would you say? Who would you become? Write it down. Picture it clearly, feel it. Now ask yourself the follow-up question, the one that matters even more. What are you doing instead, and why? The gap between those two answers is where your life is hiding. That gap is filled with fear disguised as reasons, with protection disguised as practicality, with safety disguised as wisdom. And the longer you let that gap exist, the more you normalize it, the more you convince yourself that the thing you would do if you couldn't fail is not actually meant for you. It's for other people. Braver people, more capable people, not you. But here's what you need to understand. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act despite the fear. And that willingness doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from deciding that staying where you are is more painful than moving forward. It comes from hitting the point where you're more afraid of regret than you are of failure. And everyone hits that point at a different time. Some people hit it at 25, some at 45, some at 70, and some never hit it at all. They die with their music still inside them, as the saying goes. They die having never really tried, having never really shown up fully as themselves, having never taken the shot they knew they were supposed to take. Is that going to be you? I'm not asking to be dramatic. I'm asking because it's the most important question you'll ever answer, and you're answering it right now with your actions, not with your intentions, not with your plans, with what you're actually doing. Every day you don't move toward the thing you would do if you couldn't fail, you're voting for a life of what if, and you can live that way. Many people do. They build perfectly acceptable lives. They're not miserable. They're just not fully alive. They've traded possibility for comfort, and they tell themselves it's enough until it isn't. Usually that moment comes late, when it's harder to change, when the stakes are higher, when there's more to lose. That's when the regret shows up, not as a dramatic crisis, but as a quiet ache, a persistent sense that you were supposed to do something else, be someone else, try something else. And by then, you've built an entire life around not doing it. You have obligations, responsibilities, people depending on you, a mortgage, a reputation, a routine. And changing would disrupt all of that. So you don't, you just carry the ache. And it gets heavier every year, or you could deal with it now, when it's easier, when you have less to lose, when the cost of change is lower than it will ever be again. Because here's the truth they don't tell you, it doesn't get easier. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. Not because the thing itself gets harder, but because you accumulate more reasons not to do it, more comfort to protect, more identity to defend, more fear to overcome. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. You've heard that before, right? But have you actually internalized it? Because most people hear it, nod, find it inspiring, and then do nothing. They wait for Monday. They wait for the new year. They wait for after the holidays. They wait for when things calm down. They wait for a sign. They wait for permission. They wait for confidence. They're always waiting. And waiting feels like planning. like preparing, like being responsible. But it's not. It's just fear with a respectable mask on. What if you stopped waiting, not in some dramatic way, not by quitting everything and burning your life down, but just by doing one small thing today that moves you toward the person you know you're supposed to become. Not the person your parents wanted you to be, not the person society says you should be, the person you, in your quietest moments, know you're capable of being. That person is not a fantasy. That person is an unlived version of you, and every day you don't move toward them, they fade a little more, until eventually you can't even picture them anymore. You've forgotten what you wanted before you were taught what to want. Let's talk about the people in your life right now, because they're playing a bigger role in this than you realize. You've probably heard that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that's true, but not in the way most people think. It's not just about their success or their habits, it's about their expectations of you. The people around you have an idea of who you are, and consciously or unconsciously, they reinforce that idea. They expect you to behave a certain way, to make certain choices, to stay consistent with the version of you they know. And when you start to change, when you start to behave in ways that don't match their expectations, they get uncomfortable. Not because they don't want you to succeed, but because your change threatens their stability. If you can change, it means they can change. And if they can change, it means they're responsible for not changing. And most people don't want that responsibility. So they'll subtly, or not so subtly, try to pull you back. They'll remind you of past failures. They'll question your new choices. They'll call it a phase. They'll tell you to be realistic. They'll say they're just looking out for you. And they believe that. They genuinely think they're helping. But what they're really doing is protecting their own comfort by keeping you consistent with their expectations. This is one of the hardest parts of change that no one prepares you for. When you start to grow, you might have to grow away from people you love. Not because they're bad people, not because you're better than them, but because you're moving in different directions. And that's painful. It's painful to watch people who were once your closest allies become obstacles. It's painful to realize that some relationships were based on who you were, not who you're becoming. It's painful to choose your future self over your current comfort. But it's necessary. You cannot grow and stay the same. You cannot change and keep everything exactly as it is. Something has to give. And usually what gives is relationships that were built on your old identity. That doesn't mean you have to cut everyone off or make dramatic announcements. It just means you have to be willing to let some connections naturally fade as new ones form. You have to be willing to be misunderstood. You have to be willing to be called selfish or different or changed and not defend yourself. Because the people who are meant to be in your new life will find you, and the people who aren't will find reasons to leave. And both are okay. There's another thing that happens when you start to change that you need to be ready for. You'll start to succeed and it will terrify you. I know that sounds backwards. You've been working toward success. You want success. But when it actually starts to happen, when people start to notice, when opportunities start to show up, when you start to become the person you said you wanted to be, a part of you will panic. Because success means visibility. It means responsibility. It means you can't hide anymore. It means you have to own your power. And for many people, that's scarier than failure. Failure lets you stay small. Failure lets you blend in. Failure gives you an excuse. But success means you have to step into the arena. You have to take up space. You have to believe you deserve it. And if you don't believe that, if somewhere deep down you think you're not worthy of success, you'll sabotage it. You'll make a mistake right when things are going well. You'll pick a fight. You'll miss a deadline. You'll do something to confirm your underlying belief that you don't deserve to win. And then you'll tell yourself, see, I knew it wouldn't work, but it's not that it didn't work, it's that you didn't let it work. This is called an upper limit problem. You have an internal thermostat for how much success, happiness, love, money you believe you're allowed to have. And when you exceed that limit, your system freaks out and finds a way to bring you back down. Not consciously. You don't wake up and decide to sabotage yourself, but unconsciously, through subtle behaviors and choices, you reset to your familiar level. And the only way to break this pattern is to become aware of it, to notice when you're succeeding and feel the urge to self-destruct, to sit with the discomfort of outgrowing your old limits instead of automatically contracting back, to practice tolerating more success, more happiness, more abundance than you used to believe was possible for you. This requires you to update your sense of deserving. And that's deep work, because most people's sense of what they deserve was formed in childhood based on how they were treated. If you were made to feel like you were too much or not enough, if your needs were ignored or your boundaries violated, if you were praised for staying small or punished for shining, you internalized a belief about your worth. And that belief is running in the background of every choice you make. It's deciding what jobs you apply for, what relationships you accept, what prices you charge, what opportunities you say yes to. It's limiting you in ways you can't even see. So how do you change it? You start by asking yourself a hard question. What do I believe I deserve? Not what you wish you deserved, not what you think you should deserve. What do you actually genuinely believe you deserve? And be honest, because if you believe you deserve struggle, you'll create struggle. If you believe you deserve mediocrity, you'll settle for mediocrity. If you believe you deserve to be overlooked, you'll make yourself invisible. Your external reality will always match your internal beliefs. Not because the universe is magical, but because your beliefs shape your behavior, and your behavior shapes your results. Once you see this, once you really see it, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to blaming circumstances. You can't go back to playing victim. You have to take responsibility, and that's uncomfortable. Because responsibility means power, and power means you can't make excuses anymore. But it also means you can change. Right now, today, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel ready, now. So let's get practical. You've been listening to this for a while now. Maybe you're inspired, maybe you're uncomfortable, maybe you're both. But inspiration without action is just entertainment, and you've been entertained enough. You don't need more information. You don't need another video or book or podcast telling you what you already know. You need to move, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, even if you're scared. Here's what you're going to do. As soon as this ends, before you get distracted, before you check your phone, before you move on to the next thing, you're going to do one action. Just one. Toward the thing you know you need to do. Not the whole thing, not the perfect thing, just one small step. You're going to send one message, make one call, write one paragraph, do one push-up, apply to one job, delete one contact, say one truth, research one question. Whatever the next smallest action is, you're going to do it before you talk yourself out of it. Because here's what happens when you take action, any action, even tiny action, before you feel ready. You prove to yourself that you can. You break the spell of paralysis. You shift from thinking about it to doing it. And that shift, that's everything. That's the hinge point between the life you have and the life you want. And it's available to you right now, not tomorrow, not when you're more prepared, right now. But let's say you do that. Let's say you take the action, and then what? Because one action is great, but one action doesn't build a life. So here's the next part. You're going to do it again tomorrow. Same time, same small action, or the next small action in the sequence. And you're going to do it the day after that, and the day after that, not because you feel like it, not because you're motivated, but because you decided that this version of you, the version who takes action, is who you are now. You're not trying to do it. You're not hoping to do it, you are doing it, because that's what you do. That's your identity now. And some days it will feel easy, some days you'll have momentum and excitement and energy, and some days it will feel impossible. Some days you'll be tired and discouraged and ready to quit, and on those days, you do it anyway, especially on those days. Because those are the days that count the most. Those are the days that separate the people who change from the people who try to change. Anyone can show up when they feel like it. The question is, will you show up when you don't? That's where character is built. Not in the moments of inspiration, but in the moments of resistance. When every part of you wants to quit and you don't. When it would be easier to skip and you don't. When no one would know if you stopped and you keep going anyway. Not for anyone else, not for recognition or applause, but because you made a promise to yourself. And you're the kind of person who keeps promises, even the ones no one else knows about, especially those ones. This is how you build self-trust. Most people don't trust themselves. They say they're going to do something and they don't do it, over and over. And every time they break a promise to themselves, they erode their own trust, until eventually they stop making promises at all. Because what's the point? They know they won't follow through, and that's a terrible way to live, to not even trust your own word, to know that when you commit to something, there's a good chance you won't do it, but you can rebuild that trust the same way you broke it. One small promise kept at a time. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. You just have to keep one small commitment to your today, and then tomorrow, and then the next day. And eventually, you'll notice something shift. You'll start to believe yourself when you say you're going to do something. You'll start to trust that you can rely on you. And that changes everything. Because once you trust yourself, you stop needing external motivation. You stop needing someone else to push you, or inspire you, or hold you accountable. You become your own source. You become unstoppable. Now, I want to address something that might be happening right now. You might be thinking, this sounds good, but my situation is different. My obstacles are real. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have support. I have kids. I have debt. I have health issues. I have responsibilities. And you're right. Your obstacles are real. I'm not saying they're not, but they're also not unique. Everyone has obstacles. Everyone has legitimate reasons why change is hard for them. The difference between people who change and people who don't isn't that some have obstacles and some don't. It's that some people use obstacles as information and others use them as excuses. An obstacle as information says, okay, this is the reality I'm working with. How do I move forward anyway? An obstacle as excuse says, because of this reality, I can't move forward. Same obstacle, different interpretation, different result. You get to choose which interpretation you use, and that choice determines whether you stay stuck or find a way. Let me give you an example. Two people want to start a business. Both have full-time jobs and families. Same obstacle. One person says, I don't have time, I'll wait until things calm down. The other says, I don't have much time, so I'll use 30 minutes in the morning before everyone wakes up. 5 years later, one person is still waiting for time to magically appear. The other has a thriving business. Same obstacle, different response. The obstacle wasn't the problem, the interpretation was. So what obstacles are you using as excuses? And I'm not asking that to be harsh. I'm asking because it's worth examining. Are your obstacles actually insurmountable, or do they just feel that way because you haven't challenged them? Are they absolute barriers, or are they just inconveniences you've upgraded to reasons? Because the moment you start treating obstacles as problems to solve rather than reasons to quit, you'll be shocked at how many solutions appear. Not because the obstacles changed, but because you started looking for ways through instead of reasons to turn back. And here's something else. The obstacles you're facing right now, they're preparing you. Every challenge you're dealing with is building capacity you'll need later. The financial struggle is teaching you resourcefulness. The time constraint is teaching you prioritization. The lack of support is teaching you self-reliance. The failure is teaching you resilience. You're not just trying to get past these obstacles, you're being forged by them. And the person on the other side of this, the one who's overcome what you're dealing with now, that person is stronger, wiser, and more capable than who you are today. But you only become that person by going through it, not around it. Most people are looking for the shortcut, the hack, the way to skip the hard part. And I get it. Hard is hard, but the hard part is where the growth is. The struggle is where the strength comes from. And if you skip it, if you somehow find a way to avoid it, you'll just meet it later in a different form. Because life doesn't let you skip lessons. It just keeps presenting them in different packaging until you learn what you need to learn. So stop looking for the easy path. It doesn't exist. There's only the path that's hard now and gets easier later, or the path that's easy now and gets harder later. You get to choose. But you don't get to avoid hard. You only get to choose when you face it. And facing it now, while you're younger, while you have more energy, while the stakes are lower, that's the better deal. That's the path that leads somewhere worth going. Let me tell you what's on the other side of hard. Freedom. Not the kind of freedom where you do whatever you want whenever you want, but the kind of freedom where you're not at war with yourself anymore, where you're not constantly negotiating with your own resistance, where you're not carrying around the weight of unkept promises and unlived potential, where you can look at yourself in the mirror and respect who you see, not because you're perfect, but because you're trying, because you're showing up, because you're doing the thing even when it's hard. That kind of freedom is worth more than comfort. It's worth more than ease. It's worth more than safety. Because it's the only kind of freedom that no one can take from you. You know what most people are afraid of? Not failure. They say it's failure, but it's not. What they're really afraid of is success, because failure lets you stay the same. Failure confirms what you already suspected about yourself. Failure is familiar territory, but success means you have to live up to something. Success means people will expect things from you. Success means you can't hide behind potential anymore. You have to deliver. And that responsibility, that visibility, that expectation, it's terrifying. So people sabotage themselves right before they break through. They get close to the goal and then they do something to blow it up. They miss the important meeting. They pick a fight with the person helping them. They fall back into old patterns right when new ones are forming. And then they blame circumstances. They blame bad luck. They blame other people. Because admitting that they sabotaged themselves would mean admitting they're afraid of the very thing they say they want. And that's too painful to look at. So they don't. They just keep repeating the cycle. Getting close. Sabotaging, starting over, getting close, sabotaging, starting over, year after year after year. Does that sound familiar? Have you noticed that pattern in your own life? How you seem to always hit a certain level and then something happens to knock you back down? Maybe it's not bad luck. Maybe it's not circumstances. Maybe it's you. Maybe there's a part of you that doesn't believe you're allowed to have more than you currently have. And until you deal with that part, until you update that belief, you'll keep hitting the same ceiling, no matter how hard you work. No matter how much you want it, you'll rise to the level of your self-belief and then stop. Here's how you break that pattern. You have to catch yourself in the act. You have to notice when things are going well and you feel the urge to mess it up. And in that moment, instead of following the urge, you pause, you acknowledge it. You say, oh, there's that pattern again. There's that part of me that thinks I don't deserve this. And then you make a different choice. Not a huge choice, just a small one that's inconsistent with the old pattern. You don't pick the fight. You show up to the meeting. You keep the commitment. And you prove to yourself in real time that you can tolerate success. That you can handle things going well, that you don't have to destroy good things to feel comfortable. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, because that pattern has been protecting you for years. It's kept you safe from disappointment, from expectations, from responsibility. And letting it go means stepping into unknown territory. It means believing something new about yourself. It means acting as if you deserve the thing before you have proof that you deserve it. And that takes courage, real courage, not the loud, dramatic kind, the quiet kind, the kind that shows up when no one's watching and makes a different choice. Let's talk about time for a moment, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I would do all of this, but I don't have time. I'm already overwhelmed. I'm already stretched thin. I can't add one more thing. And I hear you, but let me ask you something. How much time did you spend today scrolling? How much time watching shows you don't even like? How much time in conversations that drain you? How much time worrying about things you can't control? How much time avoiding the thing you know you should be doing? You don't have a time problem. You have a priority problem. You have time for what you prioritize. And right now, you're prioritizing comfort over growth, distraction over focus, easy over important. And that's okay. That's your choice. But don't lie to yourself about it. Don't say you don't have time when what you mean is, I'm not willing to give up my comfort for this. Because that's the truth. And the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, gives you power. Lies, even comfortable ones, take your power away. If you actually want the life you say you want, you have to be willing to trade something you currently value for it. You have to be willing to give up the extra hour of sleep, the mindless scrolling, the toxic friendship, the safety of invisibility, the comfort of complaining. You have to be willing to make a trade. And most people aren't. They want the result without the trade. They want the body without changing their diet. They want the business without risking security. They want the relationship without being vulnerable. They want transformation without discomfort. And that's not how it works. That's never been how it works. Everything costs something. The question is not whether you'll pay. The question is what you'll pay for. You can pay the price of discipline or the price of regret. You can pay the price of discomfort now or the price of resentment later. You can pay with effort or with excuses, but you will pay. So choose what you're paying for. Choose consciously, because paying without choosing means life is choosing for you. And life doesn't care about your dreams. Life will give you exactly what you tolerate, no more, no less. What are you tolerating right now that you shouldn't be? What relationships, what habits, what thoughts, what circumstances are you accepting that are below what you know you deserve? Write them down. Look at them. Really look at them. And then ask yourself the most important question. How much longer am I willing to tolerate this? A year? 5 years? Forever? Because that's what you're choosing when you don't change. You're choosing forever. You're choosing to feel this way, to live this way, to be this way, until something forces you to change or until you run out of time. And you are running out of time, not to be morbid, but to be honest. You have a limited number of days. You don't know how many. None of us do, but they're finite. And every day you spend tolerating what you don't want is a day you don't get back. You can't save time. You can't pause it. You can only spend it, and you're spending it right now. The question is, what are you buying with it? Are you buying growth or comfort, courage or safety, the life you want or the life you've settled for, because you're buying something? Every moment is a transaction, and at the end of your life, you'll look at what you purchased with your time, and you'll either feel proud or you'll feel regret. There's no third option. You'll either think, I'm glad I tried, I'm glad I went for it, I'm glad I became who I was capable of becoming. Or you'll think, I wish I had. I wish I'd been braver. I wish I'd cared less about what people thought. I wish I'd bet on my... And that second thought, that's the one that haunts people. Not the things they tried and failed at. The things they never tried at all. So what do you want to look back on? 20 years from now, when you're telling your story, what do you want to say you did with this time in your life? Because you're in it right now. This is the time. This moment right here, this is the moment you'll look back on. And you'll either be proud of what you chose, or you'll wish you could come back and do it differently. But you can't come back. You only get one shot at today, one shot at this year, one shot at this version of your life. So what are you going to do with it? I'll tell you what most people do. They wait. They wait for a sign, for permission, for confidence, for perfect conditions. They wait for the fear to go away. And while they're waiting, life is happening, opportunities are passing, time is moving, and they're standing still, convinced that the right moment is coming. But here's what they don't realize. The right moment is the one where you decide it's the right moment. That's it. There's no perfect time. There's no magical alignment of circumstances. There's just the moment when you say, I'm doing this now, and you start. Everything else is just waiting, and you can wait your whole life. Many people do. They wait for retirement to enjoy life. They wait for the kids to grow up to pursue their dreams. They wait for the debt to be paid to take the risk. They wait for the stars to align, and they never do, because the stars don't align. You align yourself with your purpose, and you move. You stop waiting for life to give you permission, and you give yourself permission. You stop waiting for the perfect plan, and you start with an imperfect one. You stop waiting to feel ready, and you become ready by doing. Here's something that might surprise you. The most successful people, the ones you admire, the ones who seem to have it all figured out, they didn't feel ready either. They started before they were ready. They said yes to opportunities they weren't qualified for. They built businesses they didn't know how to run. They wrote books before they considered themselves writers. They started speaking before they were confident speakers. They didn't wait for permission or certainty or competence. They just started, and they figured it out along the way. And that's the secret. There is no ready, there's only willing. Are you willing? That's the question. Not, are you ready? Not, are you qualified? Not, are you confident? Are you willing? Are you willing to be uncomfortable? Are you willing to look foolish? Are you willing to try and fail? Are you willing to start before you know the ending? Are you willing to bet on yourself even though there's no guarantee? You are. If you're truly willing, then nothing can stop you. Not circumstances, not people, not fear, not doubt, nothing. Because willingness is the only prerequisite for change. Everything else you can learn. Everything else you can develop. But if you're not willing, if you're waiting to be ready, you'll be waiting forever. So let me ask you directly, right now, in this moment, are you willing? Are you willing to stop making excuses? Are you willing to stop blaming circumstances? Are you willing to take responsibility for where you are and where you're going? Are you willing to do the work even when you don't feel like it? Are you willing to keep showing up even when no one's watching? Are you willing to bet on yourself even when everyone else doubts you? Are you willing to become the person you know you're capable of being? If the answer is yes, then everything changes right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because being willing means being ready to act. And acting, even imperfectly, is what separates the life you have from the life you want. It's the bridge. And you've been standing at one end of that bridge for too long, thinking about crossing, planning to cross, waiting for the perfect moment to cross. But the bridge doesn't get shorter. The gap doesn't get smaller. The only thing that changes is whether you step onto it or not. And I'm going to tell you something that might be hard to hear. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to push you onto that bridge. No one's going to hand you the life you want. No one's going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself. No one's going to do the work for you. This is on you, completely on you. And that's either the most terrifying thing you've ever heard or the most liberating. Because if it's on you, that means you have the power. That means you're not dependent on anyone else's permission or approval or support. That means you can start right now, from exactly where you are, with exactly what you have. And that's enough. You are enough. Not perfect, not without flaws, not without fear, but enough to start, enough to try, enough to become. But you have to believe that. You have to believe that you're worth the effort, that your dreams are worth pursuing, that your life is worth fighting for. Because if you don't believe that, you won't do the work. You'll start and stop. You'll try half-heartedly. You'll give up at the first obstacle. Not because the obstacle is too big, but because you don't believe you're worth getting past it. And that's the real work, not the external actions, the internal belief, the deep conviction that you deserve to have the life you want. Not because you've earned it, not because you're special, but because you're here, because you're alive. Because you have dreams and desires and potential that's begging to be expressed. Saying that, suppressing that, living small when you're capable of so much more, that's the real tragedy. So here's what I want you to do. When this ends, I want you to sit in silence for a moment. No phone, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. And I want you to ask yourself honestly, what do I actually want? Not what you should want. Not what people expect you to want. What do you want? And once you have that answer, ask the follow-up. What am I willing to trade for it? What comfort am I willing to give up? What fear am I willing to face? What work am I willing to do? And if you can answer those questions honestly, if you can sit with the discomfort of the truth, then you'll know what to do next. You'll know what the first step is, and you'll know whether you're willing to take it. And if you take it, if you actually do the thing after this ends, then something shifts. You stop being someone who thinks about change, and you become someone who creates it. You stop being potential, and you become kinetic. You stop being stuck, and you start moving. And once you start moving, even slowly, everything changes. Momentum builds, confidence grows, evidence accumulates, identity shifts. And the person you are 6 months from now, if you start today, that person is unrecognizable compared to who you are right now. Not because 6 months is magical, but because 6 months of daily action, of showing up, of choosing growth over comfort, that compounds into transformation. But only if you start, only if you stop waiting, only if you decide right here, right now, that this is the moment. Not the moment you've been waiting for, the moment you create by choosing. The moment where you say, enough, enough waiting, enough planning, enough excuses, enough fear, enough playing small, enough living below what I know I'm capable of, enough, and you step forward. Into the discomfort, into the unknown, into the life that's waiting for you on the other side of your courage. That life is there, it's real, it's possible, but it's not going to come to you. You have to go to it. You have to close the gap. You have to become the person who lives that life. And that starts with one decision, one action, one step. Today, right now, this moment, this is your moment. Not because it's special, but because you're finally willing to make it special by acting, by choosing, by becoming. So the question is, will you take the step? Will you make the choice? Will you finally bet on? Because I believe you will. I believe you can. I believe you're capable of so much more than you've allowed yourself to be. But my belief doesn't matter. Your belief is the only one that counts. So believe, and then prove yourself right, not with words, with action, starting now.